The ton is a unit of measure. It has a long history and has acquired a number of meanings and uses over the years. It is used principally as a unit of mass. Its original use as a measurement of volume has continued in the capacity of cargo ships and in terms such as the freight ton. It can also be used as a measure of energy, for truck classification, or as a colloquial term. It is derived from the ton, the term applied to a cask of the largest size. This could contain a volume between 175 and 213 imperial gallons, which could weigh around 2,000 pounds and occupy some 60 cubic feet of space. In the United Kingdom, the ton is defined as 2,240 avoirdupois. From 1965, the UK embarked upon a program of metrication and gradually introduced metric units, including the ton, defined as 1,000 kilograms. The UK Weights and Measures Act 1985 explicitly excluded from use for trade many units and terms, including the ton and the term metric ton, for ton. In the United States and formerly Canada, a ton is defined to be 2,000 pounds. Where confusion is possible, the 2,240 pounds ton is called long ton, and the 2,000 pounds ton short ton. The ton is distinguished by its spelling, but usually pronounced the same as ton, hence the US term metric ton. In the UK, the final E of ton can also be pronounced, or metric ton, when it is necessary to make the distinction. Where accuracy is required, the correct term must be used, but for many purposes this is not necessary. The metric and long tons differ by only 1.6%, and the short ton is within 11% of both. The ton is the heaviest unit of weight referred to in colloquial speech. The term ton is also used to refer to a number of units of volume, ranging from 35 to 100 cubic feet in capacity. It can also be used as a unit of energy, expressed as an equivalent of coal burnt to TNT detonated. In refrigeration, a ton is a unit of power, sometimes called a ton of refrigeration. It is the power required to melt or freeze 1 short ton of ice per day. The refrigeration ton-hour is a unit of energy, the energy required to melt or freeze 1/24 short ton of ice. Units of mass weight. There are several similar units of massive volume called the ton. Others, the long ton, is used for petroleum products such as aviation fuel. Deadweight ton is a measure of a ship's carrying capacity, including bunker oil, fresh water, ballast water, crew and provisions. It is expressed in tons or long tons. This measurement is also used in the U.S. tonnage of naval ships. Increasingly, tons are being used rather than long tons in measuring the displacement of ships. Sea tonnage. Harbour ton used in South Africa in the 20th century, 2,000 pounds or 1 short ton. Both the long ton and the short ton are 20 hundredweight, being 112 and 100 pounds respectively. Before the 20th century there were several definitions. Prior to the 15th century in England, the ton was 20 hundredweight, each of 108 pounds, giving a ton of 2,160 pounds. In the 19th century in different parts of Britain, definitions of 2,240, 2,352, and 2,400 pounds were used. With 2,000 pounds for explosives, the legal ton was usually 2,240 pounds. A ton is not a unit of measurement, but a standard quantity used in assaying ores of precious metals. It is 29 1/6 grams or 32 2/3 grams. The amount which bears the same ratio to a milligram is a short or long ton bears to a troy ounce. In other words, the number of milligrams of a particular metal found in a sample of this size gives the number of troy ounces contained in a short or long ton of of, or, in documents that predate 1960 the word ton is sometimes spelled ton, but in more recent documents ton refers exclusively to the metric ton. In nuclear power plants DHM and MTHM mean tons of heavy metals, and MTU means tons of uranium. In the steel industry, the abbreviation THM means tons hot metal, which refers to the amount of liquid iron of steel that is produced, particularly in the context of blast furnace production or specific consumption. A dry ton has the same mass value, but the material has been dried to a relatively low, consistent moisture level. If the material is in its natural, wet state, it is called a wet ton. Units of volume. The displacement, essentially the weight of a ship, is traditionally expressed in long tons. To simplify measurement, it is determined by measuring the volume, rather than weight, of water displaced, and calculating the weight from the volume and density. For practical purposes, the displacement ton is a unit of volume, 35 cubic feet, the approximate volume occupied by 1 ton of seawater. It is slightly less than the 224 imperial gallons of the water ton. 1 measurement ton of freight ton is equal to 40 cubic feet, but historically it has had several different definitions. It is sometimes abbreviated as MTON. The freight ton represents the volume of a truck, train, or other freight carrier. In the past it has been used for a cargo ship, but the registered ton is now preferred. It is correctly abbreviated as FT, but some users are now using freight ton to represent a weight of 1 ton. Thus, the more common abbreviations are now MT, mount, or MTON, which still cause it to be confused with the ton, or even the megaton. The register ton is a unit of volume used for the cargo capacity of a ship, defined as 100 cubic feet. It is often abbreviated RT or GRT for gross registered ton. It is known as a tonneau de mer in Belgium, but, in France, a tonneau de mer is 1.44 cubic meters. The Panama Canal Universal Measurement System is based on net tonnage, modified for Panama Canal billing purposes. PCUMS is based on a mathematical formula to calculate a vessel's total volume. A PCUMS net ton is equivalent to 100 cubic feet of capacity. The water ton is used chiefly in Great Britain in statistics dealing with petroleum products, and is defined as 224 imperial gallons, the volume occupied by 1 long ton of water under the conditions that defined the imperial gallon. Units of energy and power. Ton of TNT. A ton of TNT. A ton of TNT is a unit of energy equal to 109 calories, also known as a gigacalorie, equal to 4.184 gigajoules. A kiloton of TNT. A kiloton of TNT is a unit of energy equal to 1012 calories, also known as a teracalorie, equal to 4.184 terajoules. A megaton of TNT. A megaton of TNT is a unit of energy equal to 1015 calories, also known as a petacalorie, equal to 4.184 petajoules. Note that these are small calories. The larger dietary calorie is equal to 1 kilocalorie, and is gradually being replaced by the latter correct term. Early values for the explosive energy released by trinitrotoluene ranged from 900 to 1100 calories per gram. In order to standardize the use of the term TNT as a unit of energy, an arbitrary value was assigned based on 1000 calories per gram. Thus, there is no longer a direct connection to the chemical TNT itself. It is now merely a unit of energy that happens to be expressed using words normally associated with mass. The definition applies for both spellings, ton of TNT and ton of TNT. Measurements in tons of TNT have been used primarily to express nuclear weapon yields, though they have also been used since in seismology as well. Ton of oil equivalent. A ton of oil equivalent, sometimes ton of oil equivalent, is a conventional value based on the amount of energy released by burning 1 ton of crude oil. The unit is used, for example, by the International Energy Agency for the reported world energy consumption as TPES in millions of TOE. Other sources convert 1 TOE into 1.28 TCE. 1 TOE is also defined as 6.6 to 8.0 actual barrels of oil, depending on actual specific gravity. Ton of coal equivalent. A ton of coal equivalent, sometimes ton of coal equivalent, is a conventional value based on the amount of energy released by burning 1 ton of coal. Plural name is tons of coal equivalent. For the World Coal Association, 1 ton of coal equivalent corresponds to 0.697 ton of oil equivalent. For the International Energy Agency, 1 ton of coal equivalent corresponds to 0.700 ton of oil equivalent. Refrigeration. The unit ton is used in refrigeration and air conditioning to measure the rate of heat absorption. Prior to the introduction of mechanical refrigeration, cooling was accomplished by delivering ice. Installing 1 ton of mechanical refrigeration capacity replaced the daily delivery of 1 ton of ice. In North America, a standard ton of refrigeration is 12,000 BTU per hour. The heat absorption per day is approximately the heat of fusion of 1 ton of ice at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Quote, "This is approximately the power required to melt 1 short ton of ice at 0 degrees Celsius in 24 hours, thus representing the delivery of 1 short ton of ice per day." A less common usage is the power required to cool 1 long ton of water by 1 degree Fahrenheit every 10 minutes equals 13,440 BTU per hour. A refrigeration ton should be regarded as power produced by a chiller when operating in standard AHRI conditions, which are typically 44 degrees Fahrenheit for chilled water unit, and 95 degrees Fahrenheit air entering the condenser. This is commonly referred to as true ton. Manufacturers can also provide tables for chillers operating at other chilled water temperature conditions which can show more favorable data, which are not valid when making performance comparisons among units unless conversion rates are applied. The refrigeration ton is commonly abbreviated as RT. Informal tons. Ton is also used informally, often as slang, to mean a large amount of something, material or not. For example, "I have a ton of homework to do this weekend." Quote. In Britain, a ton is colloquially used to refer to 100 of a given unit. Ton can thus refer to a speed of 100 miles per hour, and is prefixed by an indefinite article, e.g. Lee was doing a ton down the motorway, to money e.g. How much did you pay for that? Quote. A ton, to 100 points in a game e.g. Eric just threw a ton in our darts game, or to 100 of any other countable figure. In Dutch, when talking about money, a ton is used to indicate 100,000. For example, a house costing 2 ton would cost 200,000 euros. This convention has been in use since at least the 18th century. In Finnish, toni is often used as a synonym for 1,000, especially when referring to money. For example, tonnen seteli was a 1,000 marks banknote, and a popular TV show was called Kimpi Toni.